In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 reasons why you lack self-control. Number 1 is going to be always checking social media. Have you ever found when you were trying to do something productive and it feels like you have to exert so much effort to get started, to gain some momentum on doing what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you get this itch to check your phone and scroll through social media? I feel like that happens to me a lot, and this is something that feels like we lost control over. You know, social media is something that fights for your attention these days, and it does a pretty good job of getting it. So I think what we can do is be more proactive to reducing our social media usage and possibly addiction that we have by taking the necessary steps. I made a short that you can check out that I've linked right here. Number 2 is going to be watching movie series or anime. So oftentimes you sit down at night, you know, maybe you plan on waking up early, but you're like, you know what, I'll watch one episode of One Punch Man. I'll watch one episode of Terminal List. And so you turn it on, you watch one episode, and all of a sudden you're hooked. You're hooked on the plot. The plot has enticed you. It has gotten your attention. Now your mind is primed to find out what's going to happen on the next episode. So that episode ends and you're like, you know what, just one more, let me watch another episode. One episode turns into 3, which turns into 5, which turns into the whole season. So now you've stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. You've watched the whole season when you said you were only going to watch one. Has this happened to you? Number 3 is going to be video games. So a lot of people like to say that, you know, I'm going to unwind playing some video games, maybe just an hour, you know. The thing with video games is that your mind is not at rest. Your mind is hyper stimulated by the activities that you're doing. You're engaged in, you know, trying not to die, trying to level up, trying to fight a boss, or whatever it is, whatever game you're playing. With video games, you're constantly engaged in what's going on, especially if you're playing a new game and an action game or a first-person shooter. You're probably very intensely concentrating on what you're doing. You're not resting. Even if you're playing a game with a good storyline, you're thoroughly engaged, kind of like you are with the movie series. So you're not really unwinding, and you're doing more harm to yourself than you think. Number 4 is YouTube. Yeah, so YouTube's not social media, right? I mean, it's educational. Like, I'm learning how to do things. I'm looking up tutorials to help myself. It's one thing to go to YouTube for something very specific, but if you've spent several hours on YouTube saying, oh no, okay, I'll get off, it's just one more 5-minute video. You're consuming content. You're still consuming. Consuming versus producing. Are you consuming or are you producing something? I think it's better to be a producer because you're actually creating something of your own unique skill set and your own unique perspective. If you're constantly consuming, you're going to find it hard to create something worthy of, you know, your unique personality. And I think that's important. Number 5 is going to be junk food. How many times have you started a diet and all of a sudden you find yourself eating a bag of chips? Maybe you've said, hey, you know, I'm just gonna eat one, you know, just to get the craving away, and all of a sudden half the bag is gone. Out of sight, out of mind is a really good concept here. So if you constantly see the big box of crackers that's on top of the fridge, you know, you might end up reaching for it subconsciously when you're hungry, but instead maybe hide it in a place that you don't normally look, like in a cabinet, or just make sure that stuff doesn't exist in the house. For me, it's a little hard because I have kids, so they eat snacks, and if you're trying to lose weight or get on a good diet, then I would suggest keeping these foods as far away from you as possible and filling your house with good foods that you want to eat, that are going to be good for you in your progress and your goals. I have a bonus tip Tip number 6. If you're a man, you've probably struggled with this, and that is porn and masturbation. I know some of you might have just cringed at that. As I said that, I felt maybe a little bit of denial, maybe a little bit of shame and guilt, but I think this is something a lot of men deal with, right? And we got to face up to it. We got to own up to it. How many times have you said after blowing your load that, oh yeah, oh man, you know, I'm really gonna stop this time. This is the last time I do it. 24 hours later, you're opening up your phone, checking if your VPN is on, going to the incognito tab, and it's like muscle memory typing out those 7 letters. So yeah, I mean, this stuff happens to all of us, right? We all get caught up in habits, bad habits that we'd like to change. So my challenge to you is to comment below which one of these stood out to you the most. Like, what do you struggle with the most right now? And you know, maybe we can start a discussion and talk about how we can alleviate some of these issues that bring the lack of control in our lifestyles. So if you like this video, you might want to check out this other video right here that relates to social media. So if you related to a lot of these activities and you want to see more videos about self-improvement and about, you know, being more self-aware and how you can live a better lifestyle, then consider subscribing to my channel. Leave a like on this video and comment on which one of these stood out to you the most. And I will see you in the next video.